What if I told you that Batman's greatest enemy in Arkham Shadow isn't who you think it is? In fact, the most shocking moment in this game comes from a seemingly ordinary prison vendor who changes everything we know about Batman's story. Today, we're diving into the incredible secrets that even die-hard fans missed in Batman's latest adventure. Starting off our list, we've got a familiar face from Arkham Asylum, Frank Boles. Now, if you played Asylum, you'll remember him as the corrupt security guard who helped Joker kidnap Commissioner Gordon. Well, in Arkham Shadow, we get to see his origin story as a Tiger security guard at Blackgate, and the details are absolutely incredible. The developers made sure to keep his most recognizable feature, the nasty scar over his left eye. While Boles doesn't get a ton of screen time in Shadow, you'll spot him doing various guard duties around Blackgate, most notably when he's escorting Matches Malone to his cell.
That's far enough. Irving Malone, in for arson?
It's these kinds of connections that make the Arkham universe feel so cohesive and well thought out. If you've played Asylum, seeing Boles in his early days adds this whole new layer of meaning to his eventual betrayal. The way they've woven this character into the story really shows how much attention to detail went into connecting all the Arkham games together. Moving on to something a little bit more intriguing, we've got some really cool Catwoman references hidden in the game. Deep in Batman's Batcave, beneath Blackgate, you can discover this fascinating voicemail from none other than Selina Kyle herself.
Hey, it's Selina. Gotham's a mess, as usual. If it's not bats, it's rats. Which is why I'm jetting to Rome for a few days. Rome's a mess too, but, you know, in a more charming way. Plus, I may have some family there. Or at least I have some questions for Louisa Falcone, even if I won't like the answers. Besides, the St. Gertrude Emerald is on display at the Vatican, and I've always wanted to see it for myself. Hey, fly out and meet me, and maybe we can cash that rain check? Ta-ta for now, Bruce.
What makes this particularly interesting is that we're seeing the very beginning of Batman and Catwoman's complicated relationship. At this point, she has no idea that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but she's definitely embraced her Catwoman persona. The voicemail talks about her heading to Rome to search for family, and here's where it gets really clever. This directly connects to another Easter egg involving Carmine Falcone, who's sporting some fresh claw marks on his face. These scratches tell us that Selina's already had her first encounter with her real father, even though she doesn't know it yet. It's like watching the pieces of her origin story fall into place right before our eyes. The way the game weaves together these subtle hints about Selina's background and her connection to Falcone is just brilliant storytelling. Now, this is where Arkham Shadow really changes things up in an exciting way. While previous Arkham games usually stuck to Batman's most famous villains like Joker and Scarecrow, Shadow introduces us to the Rat King, a completely reimagined version of the classic Ratcatcher character. But don't expect the same Ratcatcher you might remember from the comics and the Suicide Squad movie. This version is something entirely different, and honestly, pretty terrifying. The Rat King has managed to build up this massive cult following in Gotham, convincing regular citizens to see themselves as rats and join his cause to burn the city to the ground.
We are rats. We come from nothing, have nothing, so we fear nothing.
You'll see his influence everywhere through street art and graffiti, with powerful symbols about rats fleeing a sinking ship. What makes him even more interesting is how he's targeting high-ranking officials like Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Dent. The whole pigs versus rats symbolism they've created here really adds this deep layer of social commentary to the game. It's fascinating to see how they've taken a relatively minor Batman villain and transformed him into this compelling antagonist who challenges Batman in completely new ways. This might be one of my favorite parts of the game. We actually get to witness the origin story of both Harley Quinn and Scarecrow, and trust me, it's not what you'd expect. We see Dr. Harleen Quinzel before she becomes Harley, watching a building burn with this fascinating look in her eyes that hints at her future transformation. The game takes an interesting turn here by suggesting the Rat King's influence played a part in her evolution into Harley Quinn, making her story about more than just falling for the Joker.
You should hear the things they call me. Missy Stew, Pumpkin Pie, Harley Quinn.
Then there's Dr. Jonathan Kane, shown in this incredibly dramatic moment leaving the courthouse as it burns, putting on his iconic Scarecrow mask for the first time.
Keep your mitts up! Hand over the doll, you feeble-minded worm!
The way the game connects both of these characters to Rat King's chaos really adds this new dimension to their origin stories. Honestly, it's quite refreshing to see Harley's character development being influenced by more than just her infatuation with the Clown Prince of Crime. For the Batman fans out there, this next set of Easter eggs is absolutely incredible. The game includes the Monarch Theater, which isn't just any old building, it's the exact place where Bruce's parents were killed, essentially the birthplace of Batman himself. But what really got me excited was finding the poster for The Ghost in Grey featuring the Grey Ghost character. If you've watched Batman, the animated series, you'll know this was Bruce's childhood hero, the character he used to watch on TV with his father. These references aren't just thrown in randomly, they're telling us something deeper about Batman's past and possibly hinting at how the game might explore Bruce's own origin story in more detail. The inclusion of both the theater and the Grey Ghost poster in the same location really makes you wonder if we'll get to see more flashbacks to young Bruce's life and what shaped him into becoming Batman. This next Easter egg literally gave me chills when I discovered it, and it's actually one of the most powerful moments in any Batman game. Throughout your time in Blackgate, while Batman is disguised as Matches Malone, you keep running into this seemingly ordinary commissary vendor named Joe. What's really interesting is how the game purposely keeps Joe's last name hidden, making his true identity a mystery that builds throughout the story. But here's the kicker. This Joe turns out to be Joe Chill, the man who murdered Bruce's parents. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen Joe Chill in the Arkhamverse. He appeared briefly in Batman Arkham VR, though that might have just been a nightmare sequence. What makes this version of Joe Chill so fascinating is how the game portrays him. He's not just some cold-blooded killer, instead we see him as someone who's clearly haunted by his past actions. During your conversations with him as Matches Malone, you can hear the genuine remorse in his voice.
Don't I wish? I'd give anything to unload the rest of what I got up here.
Though Batman is too focused on finding the Rat King to realize who he's actually talking to. The game brilliantly shows how Bruce's rage and determination can sometimes blind him from what's right in front of him. But the most powerful moment comes at the end of the game when Harvey Dent reveals Joe's true identity. After all those years of anger and pain, Bruce does something completely unexpected. After unmasking in front of Joe, he actually tells him to leave. While the game doesn't give us complete closure on Joe's fate, we don't know if he ends up back in Blackgate or disappears entirely. This moment perfectly demonstrates how Batman's understanding of justice and vengeance has evolved. It's also a perfect example of the game's larger themes about empathy and how few characters in the Arkhamverse are purely good or evil. The whole subplot shows us that even the common criminals in Gotham aren't just mindless thugs, but real people with their own stories and regrets. While exploring your way to Dr. Crane's office, you might come across something that casual Batman fans might miss, but hardcore fans will definitely appreciate. A cell belonging to Aaron Helsinger. Now, if that name doesn't ring any bells, you might know him better as Amygdala, one of Batman's lesser known but incredibly dangerous villains. While you can't actually interact with the cell, just knowing he's there adds another layer of depth to Blackgate's history. For those who don't know, Helsinger's story is pretty tragic. He's a character who becomes increasingly violent and unstable with each surgery that's supposed to help cure his psychotic episodes. Finding his cell in Blackgate shows us that the prison was already housing some seriously dangerous inmates long before the events of Arkham Asylum. It's these kinds of deep-cut references that really reward longtime Batman fans and help flesh out the world of Arkham Shadow. The game hasn't forgotten about the events of Arkham Origins, and there are some really interesting traces of Bane's influence throughout Blackgate. If you explore the yard carefully, you'll run into Bird, one of Bane's most loyal captains from his faction. But that's not the only reference to the man who broke the bat. In Dr. Crane's office, you can find a Venom detox room. Now, this could serve two purposes. It's either where Bane's followers come to kick their Venom addiction, or more intriguingly, it might be where Bane himself is recovering from the effects of that devastating TN1 formula we saw him use in Origins. These subtle callbacks to previous games really help make Blackgate feel like a living, breathing part of the Arkham universe, showing how past events continue to influence the present. The game gives us some truly fascinating and somewhat disturbing glimpses into Harley Quinzel's transformation into Harley Quinn. In the beginning, we see her as a genuinely caring therapist during group sessions, which makes her eventual fall off even more tragic. But the real interesting stuff comes when you start finding evidence of her growing obsession with the Joker. There's this notepad filled with her private thoughts about him, and if you look closely, you'll spot this bizarre pinup calendar where she's plastered Joker's face over the models. But here's the most chilling part. You can actually find Joker's empty cell in solitary with a note from Harleen that proves she's the one who set him free. The way the game shows her gradual descent from dedicated professional to obsessed villain is both fascinating and heartbreaking to watch unfold. Here's a really creative twist on a classic Batman story. Instead of the traditional meeting at Harley's circus after the tragic death of his parents, Batman first encounters Dick Grayson as one of the rats at Monarch Theater. The game leaves several clever clues about his identity. He's voiced by Josh Keaton, who Batman fans might recognize as Robin's voice from Arkham Origins Online. He uses broken chair legs just like the Eskrima sticks he'll eventually master as Robin, wears a Harley Quinn circus pin, and sports the classic Robin haircut. It's such a fresh take on how Batman and his first Robin met, and it ties perfectly into the game's themes about understanding and empathy. This reimagining of Dick's origin story shows how the game isn't afraid to put new spins on classic Batman lore while still respecting the source material. And finally, we come to probably the most emotionally powerful Easter egg in the game, the memorial plaque in Crime Alley marking where Thomas and Martha Wayne were murdered. Finding this spot, complete with a single red rose laid beside it, serves as a powerful reminder of why Bruce became Batman in the first place. It's not just a simple plaque though, it's a physical representation of the moment that changed Gotham forever, the catalyst that would eventually lead to the creation of the Dark Knight. The fact that you can find this location in the game and see how Bruce still honors his parents' memory with that solitary rose adds this incredible human element to Batman's character. It reminds us that beneath all the gadgets and martial arts training, there's still that little boy who lost everything one night in Crime Alley. So, there you have it, some of the most amazing secrets and Easter eggs hidden within Batman Arkham Shadow. The attention to detail and the way these references connect to both the wider Batman universe and the other Arkham games really shows how much love and care went into making this game. I'm sure there are even more secrets waiting to be discovered, so if you found any other cool Easter eggs, make sure to let us know down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this, and keep an eye out for more Batman Arkham Shadow secrets as players continue to explore every corner of Blackgate. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.